to raise the confident, interdependent people the world needs. Gail Bell and Julie Friedman-Smith interview experts who share their knowledge to assist parents in creating a home environment where kids can thrive.
Hi, everyone. Welcome to the Real Life Parenting Podcast. This is Julie Friedman-Smith.
And I'm Gail Bell.
Today's podcast is brought to us by Beaner's Fun Cuts for Kids. Parenting is hard, haircuts shouldn't be. Visit beanersfuncuts.com for a location near you. Our guest today is Renee Tsang. Now, if you know Parenting Power, you'll know that Renee is the person that keeps our company on track. In addition to this, she runs Renee Tsang Travel. As a mom and entrepreneur, she knows how hard it is to see past the day-to-day stuff, homework, budgets, meal planning, and focus on the values we want to instill and the memories we want to make. She works to help families create times to reconnect, and you'll often hear her say, life is too short to stay home. We're so glad you're here to talk with us and our listeners today, Renee. Welcome.
Oh, thank you for having me. I'm glad to be here.
Renee, we know your new book, I'll Never Grow Up, is all about planning a Disneyland vacation. But what we want to know is, why do you want to share about Disneyland?
Okay, well, why not Disneyland? Disneyland is where happiness and joy exist. It's the place where all of us can go and just be a child. It encourages us to be who we really want to be. And I think it's the perfect place to start any family vacation. Why not go to a place where happiness and joy exist? You can just enjoy, escape from the world, do whatever you want, become the child that you are, and really, through the stories, through the experience, through everything that Disneyland is designed to have you experience.
And you've been there many times, right? Your family loves to travel in Disneylands.
Yes. And it's funny because I've been to Disneyland as a child, and it's one of the most memorable childhood vacation experiences I had. And I think that's kind of why it holds such a special, dear place to me in my heart. But at the same time, I didn't realize how much I loved Disneyland until I went as an adult and as a parent, and seeing the experience for what it was through a completely different lens. And I'm noticing so many more things that go into it, and how it's all about the experience. It's all about the memories. It's about creating those magical moments and wanting our children to be able to experience that and to see the joy of innocence through their eyes and being able to experience it as a parent. All those things didn't come into play until I was a parent. I went to Disneyland as an adult without my kids first. The whole time I was there, I just wanted to bring my kids. It's like, oh, I can't wait for them to experience this and to be able to see that magic through their eyes. And so because of that, I wanted everybody to have that experience as well. We go every year, or we try to, just because it changes all the time. There's new experiences, but yet that feeling, that core magical feeling, you can't ever escape from that. That's what Disneyland does. It takes you back to a moment, to a memory, so that when you see other people who, you see their family in front of the castle, you know exactly what that is. And it takes you back to when you were standing in front of there.
It's so cool to hear you talk about it, because having read your book, I feel like you've captured two of the things that you were just sharing with us. One is your excitement about the place, and that comes through the book throughout, so it makes it really easy to read. I wasn't even planning a trip to Disneyland, but I really enjoyed reading it because I could hear your excitement about it. And then the other thing that came through in the book for me was your ability, as you do for us every day here at Parenting Power, and that you just do in your life, your ability to simplify things and make them clear and guide people with your expertise, because it's something that you've done so many times. So it's really fun to hear you bubbling about it, because that is what is also in the book. And I encourage, if you're headed to Disney or you know someone who is, I encourage you to pick up the book. It's a great tool, and it's just a fun read.
Oh, well, thank you. That's why I wanted to write the book, was to simplify things for everybody, because Disney can be very overwhelming and it can be scary in terms of once you start delving into what you need to know. And Disneyland is very different from Disney World, yet so much more simple. Knowing a few things beforehand can make your experience that much more memorable, so you don't miss out on anything, because there's so many must-dos and highly recommended things. And then again, everything is different depending on the ages of your children, or what you want to get out of it and what you want to experience. And so having a little bit of guidance beforehand helps make the experience that much better. Also, a trip to Disney is many times like a bucket list type trip vacation. It's much different than just a trip to Mexico or to the beach or to wherever. I mean, it is a special trip. and you're spending a lot more money than you normally would. So you want to make sure you get the most out of it and maximize every opportunity and every experience and everything that is at your fingertips. You just might need a little bit of guidance ahead of time and being able to know what applies to you and your trip. So
Yeah. So what would be 2 or 3 of your biggest tips in planning a successful family holiday? And how does a travel agent help a family versus a family just planning a trip on their own?
Well, as with a lot of things in life, generally, if you are able to find somebody to work with, an expert in any field, travel experts exist for that very reason, to help guide you, to help you maximize your opportunity for everything that you need to know. Planning a family vacation is very different from planning just a trip on your own or with 2 adults, because now you are responsible for kids and you have different goals, different priorities now that you may not have considered before kids. Before kids, you might have just hopped on an airplane, taken the cheapest flight you could think of. You didn't really care where you stayed. You're able to just throw caution to the wind, and you may be able to enjoy some really great last minute deals that way. But now with a family or with kids, and depending on the ages of your kids, now you're thinking about what's safe, what's secure, what's the best price, what are our best options? Are you limited by dates or location? There's so many more questions. And everything comes down to safety and security and price and what works for your family and all these kinds of things. And you might have special considerations now, allergies for kids, or how are the sleeping arrangements, or how close do you want to be to something, or how far do you want to be? Lots of those little questions that you can certainly try to look for that all online. But we know everything you read on the internet doesn't necessarily mean it's true or real, or how do you know?
Yep.
So definitely, especially when you have so many more considerations that you're thinking of and so many more questions, it's valuable to be working with an expert, with a specialist, with somebody who knows this stuff inside and out. We deal with questions on a daily basis for a lot of this kind of stuff. We know our properties. We know the common challenges that many families face. And we have a network of suppliers and everybody in the industry that we can tap into for things that we may not know firsthand. We know somebody who does know. Right. So you can Google everything. It's a great tool to look for different things. But all the questions you have, you're trusting the random internet people for your answers. Whereas if you work with somebody, you get a real life person to talk to.
Yeah.
You answer all your questions. And if anything that we don't have an answer to directly, again, we know somebody who does, whether it's the tour operator and an expert there, or somebody who's on the ground in that location, or we have networks to the hotel supplier, the resort managers. We know people. So booking with an agent, with an advisor, a specialist in that area gives you access to all that. So why wouldn't you? It's like your taxes. You can do your taxes yourself, but why not work with an expert who knows all the ins and outs of it so that you don't have to?
Right. And so listeners, when you're listening to this, I have no idea what the state of the world is going to be, but at the time that we're recording this interview, we're right in the start of the COVID-19 situation. And I would anticipate that this is one of those times where having a travel agent might be really helpful, because it's all fine when everything goes great, but when things suddenly go sideways, it's nice to have somebody who knows what they're talking about. Has that been your experience?
Yes. Oh, so much more to that. But yes, because travel is one of those things where you can do it on your own and people are happy to do it on their own. But at the same time, it's also something where you are spending a lot of money on, and then B, so much of it is out of your own control. So you're because of that, our role is we're there for you before, during, and after your trip. So when you book on your own and you're planning on your own, you're on your own. Maybe you like to plan, and that's great. But during your trip and after your trip, you're also on your own. Right. Now, if you're working with somebody, we are there with you every step of the way to guide you, to answer all your questions from beforehand, to help resolve any issues that you might have during your trip, and or after your trip. We can help with any issues you might have had, and we can do follow-ups. And again, we have a network that we can tap into to help resolve issues if that's the case. And I think right now, because of the situation and the state of the world, travel and the whole industry has changed. And everybody's going to be looking at everything differently. And do not travel without purchasing some form of travel insurance for trip cancellation, trip delay, and emergency medical. All those things are going to be a much more important part of conversations to have. And for anybody who's traveling, it's just as important to think of those things. So having somebody to work with you through those kinds of questions is very important. Things are changing on a daily basis in terms of advisories and where is safe to go. And And right now with this situation, it's just one. But prior to this, whether it was the max 8 groundings and planes were grounded because now, or flights canceling because airlines were going bankrupt and you were previously booked to be flying on there. Now what do you do? Or before that, it would have been hurricanes, even if it's hurricanes or winter snowstorms. So that happen every year, depending on when you're traveling. If you're traveling in the fall and you might be going to the Caribbean and you're impacted by hurricanes. If you're traveling in the winter season over Christmas holidays and you have winter snowstorms you're dealing with and dealing with flight cancellations. So these are all normal things that happen in the travel industry. And if you are affected, you have to figure out how to deal with that. So if you're planning on your own, again, you have to figure out how to deal with that on your own. But if you've worked with somebody who's helping you plan that travel, we take all that on. We help reschedule, we help rebook, we find the solution to the problems you have at hand. So having peace of mind where you can just travel, you can deal with what you need to at hand. We're taking care of all this on the back end of it so that you don't have to. Why wouldn't you want to work with somebody? Why would you want to do that all yourself in addition to everything else?
Yeah, and work with somebody that you trust and that has experience and that is super organized. I mean, which is exactly who you are. So that's very cool.
That sounds great. So Disneyland, as we all know, is just that unique, wonderful place. And we're hearing that you can help families really plan to have a successful vacation. So listeners, reach out to Renee if you're planning that trip to Disneyland. But from your expertise and experience, other than Disneyland's, what would be your next top destination for families?
Well, generally for families, the next step, or the very common, especially when you're first starting to look at family travel with your kids, depending on your age as a kid, all-inclusive vacations are very common just because they're easy. It's a prepackaged vacation with your flights, your resort, your meals, your drinks, your transfers, everything's included. So all you have to do really is just decide when, where, what type of things, and we help you find that. And then you pack, you get on the airplane, you get your destination, you're there for 7 days, everything is taken care of. So it's kind of like a one-shot deal that basically makes it easy for you to plan a trip to be able to get away and not have to worry about everything else. Now, and again, might think, okay, that sounds easy enough. I can go on the internet and see what I want to do and look at prices and stuff and decide. But that's where, again, working with somebody can help answer all those questions you might have. Because again, you look online, you're like, look at this resort, all the pretty pictures online, everything looks fantastic. But having somebody you can work with to answer your questions you might have about what's safe, or a beach is very important. Or maybe based on the ages of my kids, there's kids clubs. Do we want a small resort, a big resort? Why is this one so cheap? Why is this one so much more? What do you get for all of that? Not all resorts are equal. Not all beaches are equal. There's pros and cons to every. So we help navigate through all those questions you might have to find the best fit for what works best for your family. So once we find the right fit, then all you have to do is just pack.
Yeah, and we all know the horror stories of people who have arrived at their all-inclusive and instead of the suite that they had booked, the four of them are all stuck in one room or something goes wrong.
Or they didn't realize that the resort was 2 hours away from the airport.
Yeah, exactly.
Because sometimes that is the case. But if you don't know that ahead of time and you're looking on your own, these are all things that we can help advise to see what works best for your family. Or else, I didn't know we couldn't go swimming in the ocean in Cabo.
Yeah.
That's very important to us. Oh, well, you can't. There's all those things you might not know. And where we deal with this stuff on a daily basis, we can at least help guide you to the ones that would be a better fit.
Brilliant. So lastly, as a mom of 2 kids, could you please share a real life parenting tool that you have used successfully in your family?
All of them, everything that you guys preach, I do. I do follow, because they're all very practical, realistic tools that work. So, I mean, trying to find one now that I'm trying to think of, they're all excellent tools. But I do like things about open communication, talking to your kids, having a meeting, but we don't have a regular family meeting, but we do talk about everything.
One of the things that I've heard you talk about a lot about your kids, may I interject?
Oh, for sure. Yes.
Is that you got really clear, and then I think you've done a phenomenal job of communicating this to your kids, that stuff is not what your family is about. And that experiences are where it's at for your family. And I think that's obviously a really strong value for you. I've watched you live it and model it for your kids. And you guys travel a lot and you build experiences in, whether it's going to visit all of your relatives or whether it's the 3 of you going off on an adventure. I just really see you model that value so strongly for your kids. And I think they've completely gotten it. Like, I think they live that value now too.
Oh, well, thank you. I mean, yes, that was important to me to make sure that they value experiences and not stuff. I think travel is the best education and experiences, and you have to live it and model it. And again, then that's where we do talk about everything, and we talk about all our experiences and how they shape us, and the effect that they can have and the impact that they have. So we do talk about big goals and little things like that, but to make everything memorable and worth experiencing. And then these experiences will help shape them to be strong, independent individuals that can help make a difference in the world someday, hopefully, in whatever capacity that entails.
I see you guys working as a team a lot, and it's really beautiful to watch.
Well, thank you.
Renee, speaking with you today has been so helpful for families that want to travel. I think we all want to give our kids the experience of travel. Thank you for sharing your information with us. If listeners want to find out more information from you, where would be the best place for them to follow you?
Well, I'm online, socially, everywhere. Renee Tsang Travel, and that's Tsang with a T. Facebook, Instagram, my website. I do have a blog that I also write about some of our adventures. So it's Life is Too Short to Stay Home. And I'm always available to answer questions if anybody wants to reach out and help plan their trips. Would love to, because I would love people to be able to travel more and to be able to have those experiences as a family, because it's worth it. Your family's worth it. Your kids are worth it. You are worth it.
That's wonderful. And listeners, if you think that we've discussed anything here today that will help someone you know, then please tell them about the podcast, share this podcast to them, and spread the word so that we can all be helping each other in this real life parenting journey. Thanks a lot, Renee.
Okay, no problem. Thank you for having me.
Thanks.
We hope that you've enjoyed this episode of the Real Life Parenting Podcast. If you're looking for more real life parenting tools, then please sign up for our weekly Thoughtful Thursday email newsletter. It's free and it's really good. Just visit our website, parentingpower.ca, to subscribe. While you're there, check out our book, A Year of Intentional Parenting. Like this podcast, the book was created to help you feel confident, capable, and calm. Thanks so much for listening, and we look forward to connecting with you again right here every Monday.